This is Daniel remembering. When Millard Fillmore took the presidential oath in July 1850, the nation stood on the edge of fracture. He had not sought the office, nor been elected to it. Like John Tyler before him, he was elevated by death. The sudden passing of Zachary Taylor, the soldier president whose firm opposition to the spread of slavery had unsettled both North and South, and into that volatile moment stepped a man of modest beginnings, cautious temperament, and deep reverence for the Union. Fillmore's story was unlike that of most presidents. Born in 1800 in a log cabin in upstate New York, he rose not from plantations or privilege, but from poverty. Apprenticed to a clothmaker as a boy, largely self-educated, he clawed his way upward through discipline and determination. Law became his ladder, and public service his calling. He believed profoundly that education, order, and compromise were the pillars of a stable republic. As vice president, Fillmore had been sidelined mainly by Taylor. When he assumed the presidency, he inherited not only the office but the most dangerous crisis the nation had yet faced: the question of slavery in the territories newly acquired after the Mexican-American War. The balance between free and slave states trembled. Southern leaders whispered of secession. Northern abolitionists demanded moral clarity. The Union itself seemed brittle. Fillmore believed, above all else, that the Union must be preserved, even if it required painful concessions. Where Taylor had resisted compromise, Fillmore embraced it. Working closely with Henry Clay and Stephen Douglas, he threw his full support behind what became known as the Compromise of 1850, a package of laws designed to calm sectional tensions. The compromise admitted California as a free state, strengthened federal authority through a harsher Fugitive Slave Act, abolished the slave trade, though not slavery itself, in Washington, D.C., and allowed the territories of Utah and New Mexico to decide the slavery question by popular sovereignty. No one was satisfied, which in Fillmore's mind meant the compromise had done its job. Nowhere was the backlash fiercer than over the Fugitive Slave Act, which required citizens and officials in free states to assist in the capture of escaped enslaved people. Fillmore enforced the law strictly, believing that obedience to the Constitution outweighed personal conviction. Many in the North saw this as a betrayal of conscience. Former allies turned cold. His popularity plummeted, yet Fillmore pressed on, convinced that delay meant disaster. "God knows I detest slavery," he said privately, "but it is an existing evil for which we are not responsible." His was not the language of moral fire, but of legal restraint, a man trying to hold together a house already cracking at the beams. Beyond slavery, Fillmore brought stability and professionalism to the presidency. He strengthened the Navy, promoted trade with Asia, and sent Commodore Matthew Perry on the expedition that would later open Japan to the West. He restored dignity to the executive office after years of turmoil, governing quietly, carefully, and without personal scandal. His wife, Abigail Fillmore, a former schoolteacher, shared his love of learning. Together they established the first permanent White House library, believing that a president should be guided by books as much as by politics. Abigail would die shortly after leaving Washington, a personal blow from which Fillmore never fully recovered. In 1852, the Whig Party, fractured and fading, declined to nominate him for another term. He left office a disappointed man, believing he had saved the Union, only to watch it drift again toward division. A decade later, that Union would be torn apart by civil war, and many would look back on the Compromise of 1850 not as a solution, but as a postponement. History has been unkind to Millard Fillmore. He lacked grandeur, he inspired little affection. Yet in the crucible of crisis, he chose preservation over passion, law over fury, and unity over applause. He was not a president of vision, but a president of pause, holding the nation together just long enough for history to catch its breath. In an age of shouting voices and hardening lines, Millard Fillmore governed as a man who believed that sometimes the highest duty is not to win, but to hold.